The last natural sunrise. Neo-Manhattan would see for years, crested over the horizon with little fanfare. Most citizens were too busy admiring their city's gleaming technological marvels to notice nature's final bow. In 2074, humanity had reached the pinnacle of solar energy, harvesting with Neo-Manhattan leading the charge. Its skyline was a testament to human ingenuity, towering buildings clad in photovoltaic glass that shimmered with captured sunlight, streets lined with light-reactive materials that stored energy with each footfall, and public squares dominated by massive solar collection arrays disguised as abstract art. Major Elena Shade Moreno watched the sunrise from her apartment's balcony, savoring the quiet moment. She didn't know it would be the last one. At 42, Elena had earned every bit of her reputation as the resolute commander of Umbra Earth's specialized shadow operations unit. Her olive skin bore the scars of countless missions, and the streaks of silver in her otherwise black hair testified to the stress of her position. But it was her eyes, dark and penetrating, that revealed her true nature, observant, calculating, and uncompromisingly determined. She sipped her coffee as her comm unit buzzed with the day's first alert. "Major Moreno," came the voice of her superior, General Santiago. "We need you at command, now." Elena didn't waste time asking questions. 15 minutes later, she strode into the underground command center of Neo-Manhattan's military complex. The room buzzed with frantic activity screens, flashing with satellite imagery and data streams. "What's the situation, sir?" she asked, approaching General Santiago, who stood before the main display. The gray-haired veteran didn't turn to face her. "Look up, Major." The main screen showed a live feed of Neo-Manhattan's sky. What should have been clear blue was now dotted with dozens of gleaming metallic disks, each the size of a football field. "They arrived 30 minutes ago," Santiago said. "Positioned themselves in geostationary orbit directly above us. No communications, no warnings." Elena's tactical mind immediately assessed the threat. "Those aren't warships. The configuration is all wrong." "Correct. Our analysts believe there's some kind of—" He hesitated, searching for the right word, illumination devices. As if on cue, the disks began to glow slowly at first, then with increasing intensity, until they rivaled the sun itself. The combined light bathed Neo-Manhattan in an eerie, perpetual daylight. "What the hell?" Elena muttered. "We're calling them the Solari," Santiago explained. "First contact occurred 6 hours ago at our lunar base. They're a light-based alien species that feed on photonic energy. According to the brief communication we've had, they consider our solar harvesting technology to be primitive, but they've taken an interest in our planet." "Interest?" Elena's voice carried a dangerous edge. "This looks more like an invasion." "They don't see it that way. They call those devices radiance disks. They say they're upgrading our environment." A junior officer approached with a tablet. "Sir, light levels have increased 300% across the city. It's as bright as noon everywhere." "And it's going to stay that way," Santiago added grimly. "The Solari ambassador, they call him Calum, made it clear. These disks will provide continuous illumination to help us evolve." Elena's jaw tightened. "This is a hostile act regardless of their intentions." "The civilian government is trying diplomacy first," Santiago replied, frustration evident in his voice. "But, in the meantime, I'm activating Umbra. Your mission is to protect our citizens and develop countermeasures if diplomacy fails." "With all due respect, sir, what can my team do against that?" Elena gestured at the screens, showing the glowing disks. Santiago's expression darkened. "You're called Shade for a reason, Major. I need you to live up to that name. Find a way to fight them in the shadows if we have any left." As Elena left command, she immediately noticed the first effects of the Solari's gift. Citizens shielded their eyes as they walked, stores were selling out of sunglasses, and automated systems designed to work with natural light cycles were malfunctioning. Traffic signals, solar-powered grids, even the city's massive environmental control systems, all thrown into chaos by the sudden perpetual daylight. She made her way to Umbra's headquarters, buried deep beneath the city. As the elevator descended, she used the time to prepare mentally for what was to come. Umbra was Earth's best-kept secret, a unit specialized in operating where conventional forces couldn't in darkness, in the spaces between technology, in the blind spots of surveillance. Now, they were facing an enemy that had eliminated darkness itself. The elevator doors opened to reveal Umbra's command center, a space designed to be the antithesis of the light-filled world above. Dark materials absorbed sound and light, creating an environment where Umbra's operatives could train their most valuable sense, the ability to perceive what others couldn't see. Lieutenant Milo Parker, her second in command, and Umbra's tech specialist approached immediately. Parker, with his lanky frame and perpetually disheveled appearance, was a stark contrast to Elena's military bearing. But his genius with shadow circuit technology had saved the unit more times than she could count. "You've seen it?" he asked without preamble. "Hard to miss," Elena replied. "What's our status?" Parker led her to the main tactical display. "Not good. Our shadow tech is being compromised. The Solari's light is penetrating our stealth systems, rendering our cloaking tech useless. Our agents in the field are exposed. Casualties: 3 teams compromised in Asia and Europe. We got most of them out, but we lost Torres and Yamamoto." Elena's expression remained neutral, but the loss cut deep. Good agents, good people. "What about our defensive capabilities?" Parker shook his head. "The underground bases are secure for now, but any operation requiring surface activity is compromised. We're blind out there, Major. Or rather, too visible. And the Solari, what do we know? Dr. Aiko Tanaka has been analyzing the data. She's waiting for you in Lab 3. Elena made her way through the labyrinthine facility to find Dr. Tanaka surrounded by holographic displays showing the alien vessels. The brilliant energy engineer had been recruited to Umbra 5 years ago after developing revolutionary power storage technology. Her petite frame and soft-spoken manner belied a mind that operated at speeds that left most colleagues breathless. "Major," Tanaka acknowledged without looking up from her work. "I've been studying the Solari's technology. It's fascinating." "Skip to the part that helps us fight them, Doctor." Tanaka nodded, bringing up new displays. "The Solari are photosynthetic beings. They absorb light energy, directly converting it to biological and technological power. Their radiance disks aren't weapons in the conventional sense, they're terraforming devices. They're changing our planet." "Precisely. They're creating an environment optimized for their physiology. The constant light isn't just inconvenient for us, it's preparation for colonization." Elena's mind raced through the implications. "So they're not here to destroy us?" "No. They're here to transform us. Their ambassador has been quite clear in diplomatic channels. They believe darkness is primitive, a barrier to evolution. They see themselves as benefactors bringing permanent illumination as a gift." "A gift nobody asked for," Elena muttered. "What's their weakness?" Tanaka hesitated. "Theoretically, darkness. Complete absence of light would likely incapacitate them. But they've engineered their environment specifically to eliminate that threat. And if we could somehow create darkness anyway?" A spark of excitement lit in Tanaka's eyes. "There is one possibility. Before joining Umbra, I was working on a theoretical device. We called it the blackout engine." She brought up schematics on the display, complex designs for a machine that looked like nothing Elena had ever seen. It was designed as an emergency measure for solar storms, a way to temporarily absorb and neutralize excess solar radiation. But with modifications, it could potentially create a field of absolute darkness. "Could you build it?" "The prototype exists buried in an old research facility, but it needs significant work, and we'd need materials that are hard to come by." Elena studied the schematics. "Make a list. Whatever you need, we'll get it." Tanaka looked concerned. "Major, even if we complete it, the blackout engine would affect everything within its radius. All light-based technology, all power systems, they'd all go dark." "Including our own," Elena acknowledged. We'll need to prepare for that. But first, we need to buy time. She returned to the main command center, where Parker and the rest of Umbra's leadership awaited. The faces around the table reflected the gravity of their situation, seasoned operatives who had faced countless threats, but never one so overwhelming. The Solari have eliminated our primary advantage, Elena began. But they've made one critical mistake. They think humans fear darkness. They don't understand that we've mastered it. She activated the tactical display. We're initiating Operation Nightfall. Our mission is threefold: protect civilians from the harmful effects of constant light exposure, gather intelligence on Solari capabilities, and develop countermeasures for their technology. With respect, Major, spoke up Commander Victor Walsh, head of field operations. How do we operate when our stealth tech is compromised? We adapt, Elena replied. If we can't hide in shadows, we'll hide in plain sight. Lieutenant Parker, I need portable shadow generators, devices that can create localized darkness, even under these conditions. Parker looked thoughtful. I could modify our existing stealth tech, make it more focused, more resilient to outside light. It won't be perfect, but it might give us small pockets of shadow to work with. Do it. Commander Walsh, I want reconnaissance on all Solari ground installations. They must have control centers coordinating those disks. What about civilian protection? Asked Captain Lindsay Morgan, Umbra's public liaison. That's where the urban militia comes in, Elena said. We need to recruit from the population people who know the city, who can move without drawing attention. They'll be our eyes and ears. Civilians, Walsh looked skeptical. They're not trained for this. No, but they're motivated. The Solari's gift is already causing problems: sleep disorders, ecological damage, infrastructure failures. People will want to fight back. We just need to give them the means. She turned to Dr. Tanaka. And while all this is happening, you'll be working on the blackout engine. That's our endgame. The meeting concluded with assignments and timelines. As the team dispersed, Elena found herself alone with the tactical display, studying the glowing representation of the Solari disks above Neo-Manhattan. You think humans fear darkness, she said quietly to the image. You're about to learn how wrong you are. The first week under perpetual daylight was chaos. The city's biological and technological systems, calibrated for the natural rhythm of day and night, began to fail. Citizens suffered from insomnia and disorientation. Plants withered. Animals behaved erratically. Emergency services were overwhelmed. Amidst this turmoil, Umbra began its counteroffensive. Under Elena's direction, the first phase of Operation Nightfall launched with a series of carefully coordinated strikes against Neo-Manhattan's power grid control stations. These aren't attacks, she explained to her team. They're strategic adjustments. We're not destroying the grid. We're reconfiguring it to operate under these new conditions. The reality was more complex. Each adjustment allowed Umbra to install Shadow Tech, Parker's modified stealth technology that created small bubbles of darkness within the Solari's omnipresent light. These shadow zones became Umbra's new operational bases throughout the city. Meanwhile, Dr. Tanaka worked tirelessly on the blackout engine. The original prototype, recovered from an abandoned research facility beneath Old Manhattan, was a massive apparatus designed for controlled testing. Tanaka's challenge was to modify it for battlefield deployment. The principles are sound, she explained to Elena during a progress briefing. But the original design was never meant to be weaponized. We're essentially converting a shield into a sword. Can it be done? Tanaka's expression was determined. Yes, but we need more specialized materials, particularly quantum-responsive metals that can absorb photonic energy without degrading. Where do we find those? That's the problem. The Solari have set up processing centers throughout the city. They're extracting these exact materials from our infrastructure. Elena understood immediately. They're using our own resources against us. Precisely. And they're storing the processed materials in their primary command center, what they call the Light Tower. The Light Tower had been the Solari's first ground structure, a gleaming spire rising from what had once been Central Park. Its surface constantly shifted with patterns of light that Umbra's analysts believed were a form of communication with the radiance disks overhead. Then that's our next target, Elena decided. We need those materials. The operation to infiltrate a Solari processing center was Umbra's first direct confrontation with the aliens. Despite weeks under their light, few humans had actually seen a Solari up close. The intelligence gathered by Umbra's reconnaissance painted a picture of beings composed of semi-translucent matter that pulsed with internal light, humanoid in basic shape, but with elongated limbs and featureless faces that emitted a constant glow. Elena led the infiltration team personally. Equipped with Parker's latest shadow generators devices that created a field of darkness around the wearer, they approached the processing center under cover of an artificial dust storm created by urban militia diversions throughout the sector. Remember, Elena briefed her team, we don't know if these shadow fields will completely mask us from Solari perception. Move slowly, stay coordinated, and if you're compromised, activate your emergency shadow bomb to cover your retreat. The processing center was a converted manufacturing facility, its interior reworked with Solari technology that hummed with harvested light energy. Elena's team moved through the shadows at the facility's edges, avoiding the central areas where Solari workers manipulated machines that sorted and processed materials. Lieutenant Parker, monitoring from Umbra HQ, guided them through his comms. The quantum metals should be in the northeast quadrant. Our scans show a high-security storage area. Elena signaled her team to follow as they navigated through the facility's maze of light processing equipment. The shadow generators were holding, but she could feel the strain on the devices, the Solari's ambient light constantly pushing against the field of darkness. They reached the storage area to find it guarded by two Solari sentinels, taller than the workers, their forms more rigid and militaristic. The aliens stood perfectly still, their bodies emitting pulses of light that seemed to scan the surrounding area. Elena signaled for her team to hold position while she studied the sentinels' pattern. There was a rhythm to their light pulses, a 3-second gap where both guards' attention was directed elsewhere. On my mark, she whispered into her comm. 3-second window between pulses. We move in the gap. She counted down, and on her signal the team surged forward, crossing the exposed area in the brief moment of reduced surveillance. They reached the storage unit's crystalline containers, filled with processed metals that shimmered with an otherworldly quality. We need 2 full containers, Elena instructed. Jackson Chen, secure the payload. The team worked quickly, transferring the quantum metals into specialized carrying cases, designed to shield their energy signature. Just as they finished, an alarm sounded, not a human alarm, but a discordant pulse of light that flashed throughout the facility. We're compromised, Elena announced calmly. Plan B, shadow bombs on my mark. The team positioned themselves for retreat as the Solari sentinels approached their forms, now pulsing with aggressive patterns. Elena waited until they were within range. Mark. 5 shadow bombs detonated simultaneously, each releasing a compressed field of absolute darkness that expanded outward in a perfect sphere. The effect on the Solari was immediate and dramatic. The sentinels writhed in apparent agony, their light dimming as they struggled to maintain form within the darkness. Move out, Elena ordered, leading her team through the confusion toward their extraction point. They escaped with the quantum metals, but not without cost. One team member, Specialist Rivera, was caught in a counterattack, a blast of concentrated light that broke through his shadow field. By the time they reached the extraction vehicle, Rivera was unconscious, his exposed skin burned by what appeared to be radiation. Back at Umbra HQ, Dr. Tanaka analyzed Rivera's injuries, while the rest of the team debriefed. The Solari weapons aren't designed to kill, Tanaka explained. They're designed to illuminate, to literally burn away darkness. Rivera's physical injuries are superficial, but the light penetrated deeper. Meaning what? Elena asked. His brain scans show unusual activity. The Solari light seems to have some kind of psychological effect. It's stimulating the fear centers of his brain, specifically fears associated with darkness. Elena considered this information. They're weaponizing our assumed fear of the dark against us. It appears so. But there's something else. Tanaka brought up comparative scans. The quantum metals we recovered, they resonate at the same frequency as the Solari light weapons. I believe they're not just building materials. They're components of their consciousness. You're saying these metals are alive? Not alive in our sense, but they conduct and store photonic energy in a way that mimics neural patterns. The Solari may use them as a kind of external memory or processing system. This revelation changed everything. If the quantum metals were integral to Solari consciousness, then securing them wasn't just about building the blackout engine. It was about understanding their enemy. Over the next 3 weeks, Umbra conducted a series of increasingly bold operations against Solari installations. Each mission provided new intelligence and resources, but also revealed the aliens' growing awareness of human resistance. The Solari responded with what they called miniature suns, portable devices that could generate intense focused light, capable of penetrating even Parker's improved shadow generators. Urban areas became battlegrounds of light and darkness, with Umbra and the growing urban militia fighting to create shadows, while Solari forces worked to eliminate every last dark corner. Civilian casualties mounted not from direct violence, but from the psychological effects of the Solari light and the breakdown of essential services. Neo-Manhattan's power grid, overwhelmed by the constant influx of solar energy, suffered cascading failures. Water treatment facilities, automated food production, medical services, all were compromised. In response, Elena ordered Umbra to shift tactics. "We're going underground," she announced during an emergency council with urban militia leaders. Neo-Manhattan's old subway system and maintenance tunnels, the Solari, haven't mapped them yet. We'll establish shadow zones throughout the underground network. The urban militia, now tens of thousands strong, embraced this approach. Citizens who had never imagined themselves as resistance fighters learned to navigate the city's forgotten underground pathways, carrying supplies, information, and shadow generators to neighborhoods in need. Among these unlikely soldiers was Elijah Thompson, a former city planner, who knew Neo-Manhattan's infrastructure better than almost anyone. He became Elena's most valuable civilian asset, providing detailed maps of underground routes that even Umbra's intelligence had missed. "The old city is still down there," Thompson explained, during a strategy session, his fingers tracing paths on a holographic map. Tunnels, bunkers, maintenance shafts, most of them abandoned when Neo-Manhattan was built. But they're still sound. "Can they support a large-scale operation?" Elena asked. Thompson nodded. They were built to withstand nuclear strikes during the Cold War. Some of the deeper bunkers even have independent power systems that might still work. If we can reactivate them, we could power the blackout engine without drawing from the city grid. Elena finished his thought. "Dr. Tanaka, how close are we?" Tanaka, who had been working with minimal rest for weeks, looked exhausted but determined. "The engine is nearly complete. With the quantum metals we've acquired, I've been able to enhance its absorption capacity beyond my original calculations. When activated, it should create a field of absolute darkness, extending approximately 2 kilometers in every direction. The light tower is at the center of the city," Elena noted. "If we position the engine there, we could plunge all of Neo-Manhattan into darkness," Tanaka confirmed. "But Major, there's something else you should know." She brought up new data on the display. "I've been studying the Solari communication patterns, and I've discovered something unexpected. The light they emit, it's not just communication or energy. It contains a form of psychological manipulation." "Like what happened to Rivera?" "Yes, but more sophisticated. The constant light is designed to create dependency, a kind of addiction to illumination that makes darkness seem threatening. It's why civilian panic has been increasing. The longer people are exposed, the more they fear shadows." Elena felt a chill of realization. "They're conditioning us, making us fear the very thing that could save us." "Exactly. But the blackout engine can counteract this effect. When it activates, it won't just create darkness, it will neutralize the psychological components of the Solari light. People will be able to think clearly again. This information solidified Elena's resolve. Then we move forward with Operation Turn Off the Lights. Thompson, I need your urban militia to secure our underground routes to the light tower. Parker, prepare our remaining shadow tech for a full assault. Dr. Tanaka, the blackout engine needs to be ready for deployment in 48 hours. As Umbra prepared for its most ambitious operation yet, the Solari made their next move. Ambassador Kylum requested a direct meeting with Earth's leaders, including military representatives. Elena was selected to attend, alongside General Santiago. The meeting took place in what had once been City Hall, now converted into the Solari's diplomatic headquarters. The building's interior had been transformed, walls removed to create a single, vast chamber, flooded with light so intense that the human delegates wore specially designed protective eyewear. Ambassador Kylum awaited them, a Solari, whose form was more defined than others, Elena had observed, with patterns of light that created the impression of elaborate robes and insignia of rank. When he spoke, it wasn't with sound, but with pulses of light that somehow translated directly into understandable language in the minds of the humans present. We welcome Earth's representatives, Kylum's light speech conveyed. We are pleased with the progress of illumination. General Santiago spoke first. Ambassador, your illumination is causing severe hardship for our people. Essential systems are failing. Citizens are suffering psychological and physical harm. These are temporary adjustment difficulties, Kylum dismissed. Your species has lived too long in the primitive cycle of light and darkness. Evolution requires discomfort. Soon, you will adapt. Elena studied the ambassador carefully. Despite the alien nature of his form, she recognized something familiar in his manner: arrogance. Kylum truly believed humans were inferior beings needing guidance. Ambassador, she said, drawing his attention. Our research suggests that the Solari once evolved on a planet with a day-night cycle, similar to Earth's. What changed? A flicker of surprise disturbed Kylum's light patterns. You are well informed, Major Moreno. Yes, in our distant past, Solari knew darkness. We conquered it, as all advanced species must. You didn't answer my question. What changed? Our sun changed. It began to die, its light diminishing. Rather than accept extinction, we evolved to capture and amplify the remaining light. Eventually, we learned to generate our own perpetual day. Elena pressed further. And in doing so, you lost something, didn't you? The records we've recovered suggest your species experienced a great division, a civil war between those who embraced eternal light and those who believed in the necessity of darkness. The ambassador's light pulsed with what Elena interpreted as anger. The dark faction was misguided. They clung to primitive cycles when advancement required embracing the full potential of light. And what happened to them? They were illuminated. The way Kylum's light shifted suggested the word carried more meaning than its simple translation. As humans will be. The meeting continued with discussions of technical matters, power sharing, resource allocation, integration of Solari technology into Earth's infrastructure. But Elena had heard enough. The Solari weren't allies, or even benevolent conquerors. They were zealots devoted to a philosophy of perpetual illumination that left no room for Earth's natural cycles. As the delegation departed, General Santiago pulled Elena aside. You provoked him deliberately. I needed to confirm a theory, she replied. The Solari fear darkness not just as an absence of their power source, but as an existential threat to their worldview. They've convinced themselves that darkness is primitive, but their reaction to it is primal. It terrifies them. Santiago's expression was grim. Then your operation may be more effective than we anticipated. When do you move? Tomorrow night. Elena smiled at the irony of the phrase. Or what would have been night before they arrived. Operation Turn Off the Lights began precisely at what would have been sunset, a time now meaningless under the Solari's perpetual day. Umbra forces, supplemented by urban militia volunteers, moved through the underground network toward the light tower. The blackout engine, mounted on a specialized transport vehicle, was escorted at the center of the formation. Elena led from the front, navigating through tunnels that hadn't seen human presence in decades. Thompson's maps proved accurate, guiding them through a labyrinth of passages that brought them directly beneath the light tower, without encountering Solari patrols. "Status report," she called through her comm as they reached the final approach point. "Shadow teams in position around the tower perimeter," Commander Walsh reported. "Urban militia has secured all access points to the underground network. Dr. Tanaka is making final adjustments to the engine." Elena made her way to where Tanaka worked on the massive device. The blackout engine was an impressive creation, a central core surrounded by concentric rings of the quantum-responsive metals they'd recovered from Solari facilities. It hummed with contained energy, ready to absorb rather than emit. "Will it work?" Elena asked quietly. Tanaka looked up from her calculations. "The science is sound. But Major, there's something I discovered in my final analysis of the quantum metals." She brought up a display showing the molecular structure of the materials. "These aren't just conductive matrices. They contain what I can only describe as memory imprints, fragments of Solari consciousness from before their conversion to perpetual light." "Meaning what?" "The quantum metals retain impressions of Solari, who experienced darkness, who might have been part of the dark faction that Ambassador Calum mentioned. When the engine activates, these imprints will resonate with the darkness field." Elena processed this information. "Will it harm the engine's effectiveness?" "On the contrary, it may enhance it. These imprints could disrupt the Solari's unified consciousness, creating confusion in their ranks." "A psychological weapon as well as a physical one," Elena mused. "Appropriate given what they've been doing to us." Final preparations were completed as Umbra forces moved into position. The plan was precise. Shadow teams would create diversions at key points around the tower, while Elena led a small strike force with the blackout engine to the building's central core, the nexus of Solari control systems. "All teams execute on my mark," Elena commanded. 3, 2, 1 mark. The operation unfolded with practiced precision. Shadow bombs detonated at strategic locations around the tower, creating temporary zones of darkness that drew Solari security forces. In the confusion, Elena's strike team emerged from a maintenance shaft directly into the tower's lower levels. They encountered immediate resistance. Solari sentinels fired light weapons that burned through shadows, forcing Umbra operatives to constantly reposition their portable generators. The fighting was intense but brief as the team pushed toward the central core. "Major, we're detecting a power buildup," Parker warned through the comm. "The Solari are activating some kind of defensive system." "Understood. How long until we reach the core?" 2 more levels up, but Major, their system is generating a light pulse that could overload our shadow tech." Elena made a quick decision. "Dr. Tanaka, we need to initiate a partial activation of the engine, just enough to counter their defensive pulse." "That will alert them to our primary weapon," Tanaka cautioned. "They already know we're here. We need to maintain our shadow cover until we reach the deployment point." Tanaka nodded and began the sequence. The blackout engine's outer rings started to rotate, absorbing ambient light at an accelerating rate. The effect was immediate, a wave of darkness spreading outward, dampening the Solari's light weapons. The strike team pushed forward, riding the edge of the darkness wave. They fought through 2 more levels of Solari defenses before reaching the central core, a vast chamber dominated by a column of pure light that connected to the radiance disks above. "This is it," Elena announced. "Deploy the engine." The team positioned the blackout engine directly beneath the light column. Solari defenders converged from all directions, their forms pulsing with what Elena now recognized as panic. "Dr. Tanaka, initiate full activation. All teams prepare for absolute darkness. Activate emergency respirators and infrared vision." Tanaka entered the final sequence as Umbra forces donned their specialized gear. The blackout engine's rings reached maximum rotation speed, the quantum metals glowing paradoxically brighter as they prepared to absorb all light. Activation in 3, 2, 1. The engine released a pulse of anti-light that expanded outward in all directions. Where it touched illumination, simply ceased to exist. The Solari light column flickered and died. The ambient glow of the tower vanished. Even the emergency lighting built into Umbra's equipment dimmed to near nothing. And for the first time in weeks, Neo Manhattan experienced true darkness. The effect on the Solari was immediate and dramatic. Their forms dependent on light for cohesion began to waver and distort. Some collapsed entirely, their consciousness apparently unable to maintain physical form without illumination. Others flailed blindly, their light weapons useless in the absolute absence of photonic energy. Through infrared vision, Elena watched as Ambassador Calum, recognizable by his distinctive form, stumbled into the chamber, his light pattern fragmented and chaotic. "What have you done?" His disrupted light speech projected no longer smooth, but broken into disjointed concepts. "The darkness. It cannot. We will not return to." Elena approached him, her shadow generator now unnecessary in the engine-created night. "Ambassador, your invasion of our world is over. The darkness you feared has reclaimed what you tried to steal." "Not invasion," Calum's fading light protested. "Salvation. Your species needs light to evolve beyond primitive cycles." "No. We need both light and darkness. The cycle isn't a limitation, it's essential to who we are." Around them, Umbra forces were securing the tower, capturing disoriented Solari, and confiscating their technology. Outside, the blackout engine's effect had spread throughout Neo Manhattan, plunging the entire city into a darkness so complete that even the stars were visible above a sight not seen in the light-polluted metropolis for generations. In the days that followed, the city began to recover. The blackout engine's effect gradually diminished, allowing for controlled reintroduction of artificial light under human terms. Solari prisoners, including Ambassador Calum, were contained in special facilities where they could maintain their light-based form without influencing the surrounding environment. Dr. Tanaka led a research team studying Solari technology, with particular focus on the quantum metals and their embedded consciousness imprints. What they discovered confirmed Elena's suspicions. The Solari civilization had indeed experienced a schism, with the dark faction arguing for the necessity of cycles, while the light faction, which had ultimately prevailed, pushed for perpetual illumination. "The imprints in the quantum metals are like echoes of the losing side," Tanaka explained during a debriefing 1 month after the operation. They believed that darkness wasn't just necessary for biological health, but for psychological balance, that without the contrast of night, the meaning of day was lost. Elena had been promoted to colonel, following the successful operation, now leading a new division focused on integrating the lessons learned from the Solari encounter into Earth's defense strategies. "And the ambassador?" she asked. "Has he provided any useful information?" "Some," General Santiago replied. "Though he still believes the Solari way is superior. But he's confirmed our suspicion that there are more of his kind out there, light-based civilizations that might see Earth as either a threat or a target. Then, we need to be ready." Elena studied the tactical display showing the status of the Radiance discs, now under human control, and repurposed as an early warning system. "We've established that humans don't fear darkness. Now, we need to show the galaxy that we've mastered the balance of light and shadow." In the months that followed, Neo Manhattan implemented a new system, the artificial day-night cycle. Using modified Solari technology combined with human innovation, the city created a controlled rhythm of light and darkness that preserved natural patterns while incorporating enhanced efficiency. The urban militia transitioned from a resistance force to a civic organization dedicated to maintaining the new infrastructure and educating citizens about the importance of balanced light cycles. Thompson, the former city planner, became its director, working closely with Umbra to develop civilian applications for shadow technology. Lieutenant Parker's portable shadow generators evolved into personal light balance devices that citizens could use to create microenvironments of darkness or light according to their individual needs. What had begun as a weapon became a tool for health and comfort. Dr. Tanaka continued her research into the quantum metals, eventually developing communication protocols that allowed limited contact with the consciousness imprints of the dark faction Solari. These exchanges provided insights into alternative paths of light-based evolution, ones that embrace cycles rather than constant illumination. And Elena, from her new position overseeing Earth's Shadowlight Alliance, prepared humanity for what she knew would come: more encounters with beings who didn't understand the power of darkness. She often visited the observation deck at the top of what had once been the Light Tower, now renamed the Balance Spire, to watch the artificial sunset bathe Neo-Manhattan in the gentle glow of evening. "They thought humans feared darkness," she would say to new recruits during training, "until we turned off the lights. Remember that lesson. Our strength isn't in avoiding what we fear, it's in embracing and mastering it." As Neo-Manhattan's artificial stars appeared in the manufactured night sky, citizens looked up with a new appreciation for the darkness, not as an absence of light, but as its necessary partner in the eternal dance of balance.